Hey guys, Theron Asbury here with Revital Outdoors, bringing you another exciting podcast tonight. Tonight we have Mr. John Wiese. John got a top 5 finish last year at Lake Norman for the BFL event, so we're very excited to talk to another top 5 finisher and talk to him about his tournament and what he predicts for this coming year in 2022. Before we get started, just want to remind everyone to please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. That way you get notified when all of our content is dropping, and we have a lot of great content coming in the future. Also, check us out on social media, Revital Outdoors. We're on Facebook and Instagram. And then if you've never heard of Revital Outdoors, we're a premium CBD company. We offer premium CBD products to all outdoor enthusiasts. Our products are THC-free, made right here in America and broad spectrum. So check out our website, revitaloutdoors.com, and you can also purchase our products there on our website. And if you're interested in Pro Staff, hit the Pro Staff tab, fill out that application. We'd love to review it and bring you on board to the Revital Outdoors family. So that being said, let's go ahead and bring him in, Mr. John Wiese. How you doing this evening, bud?
I'm doing wonderful. I hope you are as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking time this evening to talk to us about your tournament last year on Lake Norman.
And I appreciate you having me. So,
Yeah.
well, I'll dive right into it. Basically,
Yeah.
last year, it was a little earlier than this season, so we had some rain before the event, which dirtied up part of the lake, but we also had really cold temperatures come in, which kind of killed the shallow bite for the most part of that tournament. So basically, what I did in the morning is I ran and I fished deeper banks, and basically any place a creek channel will touch a bank, any place that you see it wobbles up against the bank is a good place. And those fish move so much, it's almost like it's a timing deal. If you're not there while one's there, literally a boat could come behind you 5 minutes later and catch one on the same thing that you just threw at.
Really?
It was a brutal event. A lot of guys didn't catch a lot of fish. I mean, I ended up only catching 4 fish, and I finished near the top. But I did have one really big largemouth that went a long way. After the morning bite kind of died on the channel banks, I really struggled for about 4 or 5 hours, and then I went down to the lower end where the water's warmer. I figured in my thought process that with the super cold weather coming in, that water down there would be a little more stable, and so with the bite, which I was right, but I made the choice way too late in the day. So just like any fisherman, I fish on the fly, I learn on the fly, and I hope I have another day like that where I get to try again. So
Absolutely. So you said you got big fish in the tournament. What did that fish end up weighing?
it was 5.99 pounds. So it was one water drop away from being a 6-pounder.
We'll just go ahead and call it a 6-pounder for all intensive purposes. That's really cool, man. Well, talk to us a little bit. You know, was the bite in the morning? Was it in the afternoon? Did you just find it when you found it, or did you run and gun, or what would you end up finding out?
Basically, the bite happened really early. It was brutally cold. I mean, I think it was 22 degrees, and the water I was fishing was, I think it was 46, which most guys will run from that.
Yeah.
The fish don't leave the creeks. So basically, when you go into an area that's so brutally cold, you usually have it all to yourself. So if there's a big fish set up somewhere on a bank, my way of thinking is based on temperatures, your lure selection. But if a fish is staging and it wants to start making its way, it's going to be in a predictable place.
Absolutely. So, well, talk to us a little bit. When you were catching your fish, you said you pulled up and you just found them. They were there and they were biting, and you talked about how critical that was. Were they relating to anything like a brush pile or a current break, or were they on bait? Or
they were mostly just around those deeper banks. I think I caught 3 of my fish, and I lost one in the first 40 minutes of the morning. 2 of them came on a point. 1 of them came on a tree. And another one was on a dock. So it's not the exact cover. It was more of the area that I was in. There was bait present. There was birds diving, which basically gave me a clue that most likely there's life in this area that I'm in.
Okay. So as far as your fish, were they, I'm thinking just based on what you're saying, probably like 10 foot or less.
Basically, yeah, I was throwing a deeper diving crankbait. But my fish, I think the big one actually came from about 6 foot, but most of my fish were coming from 6 to 12 foot of water. They were
I
coming a
got you.
little deeper than most fishermen fish, and I think it had to do strictly with the water temperature.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So that's pretty interesting. Deeper diving crankbait. Any specific thing about that crankbait that you like the most about Lake Norman, or just a generic crankbait?
I throw several different models. Almost everybody throws a speed trap, but I wasn't throwing that one. I was actually throwing an old school wiggle wart, because it
Okay.
got deeper. And that's the only reason. I mean, everybody knows it's no secret. This time of year, if you're throwing a red crankbait, you're doing the right thing. Generally, most
Right.
days. But
Yeah.
but I really think it was the right area, but absolutely at the right time. There was a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
wind pushing towards that area, which I think positions the fish where they're catchable.
Mm-hmm.
But as the wind died 45 minutes after the morning started, and when the wind stopped, they completely stopped biting.
Yeah. No wind on a deep, clear impoundment like that is absolutely brutal. I mean, I call it. You have to hit them in the head to get them to bite.
You do, and if you decide to go shallow, they better see your bait before they see you, or you're not getting a bite.
Yeah, you're making extremely long casts. So, okay, well, talk to us a little bit more. Let's say you hadn't caught him on that deep diving crankbait, and there was an angler that reached out to you coming to Lake Norman for the first time fishing this year's BFL. What's just some recommendations on how to break down Lake Norman and the baits to have on the deck of the boat?
I keep it pretty simple. So basically, it's when I tackle Lake Norman, let's go with bait selection first. It's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
late winter, early spring. It's pre-spawn. Generally, like I keep on the deck. I have a jerk bait. I have an Alabama rig. I have probably two different crankbaits, a swim bait, and then some sort of finesse bait, a drop shot or shaky head or a Ned rig, something if I'm going to be around the clear water at some point during the day that I can throw, or if I see a fish. It happens on that lake. I mean, even during the winter, you'll be going down the bank and you'll look up and there'll be a largemouth sitting on something. Um, and I keep it real simple. And the other thing that you always have to try this time of year is a jig. You always have to have it. It's by the day. I've seen where they won't eat a jig for a week, then tournament day, you can't take it away from them. It's
Right.
um and as far as location goes, like literally that morning of that tournament, I hadn't I hadn't made my mind up to where I was even fishing. So with Norman being such a clear fishery and not having much current, it's all wind current driven.
Right. Okay.
So literally wherever the wind blows is where I'm going, and I'll know what I'm gonna fish when I see it. And
Okay.
most guys overthink it. Literally, I'm looking for nervous water. I'm looking for birds. I'm looking for bait fish. Anything, especially early. But following the wind is usually a pretty sure set pattern, but it's how much wind you get. And the thing about Norman is each creek is its own lake.
Right.
So the fish don't leave the creeks. I mean, they might migrate towards the mouth. They might barely get on the main lake, or the ones in the creek just might decide to suspend and not bite that day based on the wind. So the wind is your friend no matter how cold and nasty of a day it is. Um,
Yeah. And unfortunately for the anglers, not unfortunate for the fish, the days that you dream of that you can just go out and catch them are the nasty. I call it duck hunting weather. You want the nasty, the weather, spitting rain, wind. Like, I mean, don't obviously be stupid out in the wind, but you got to get out there when there's some chop on the water because that's when they bite.
Absolutely. And it's you can just take advantage of them. They don't see as well. And when it's rough, they don't have to hide. They can roam open water. Those large predators, they love days like that. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure, for
but
sure.
Norman
So
is definitely I have fished it. I'm 40 now. At 25 years old, I concentrated on Norman and I've been concentrating on Norman ever since. And just like anyone, you have your days, and then you have your other days that you don't really want to relive again on that lake. So I always tackle it with an open mind. I'm literally the whole time I'm fishing, even if I'm doing the right thing, I'm looking at the wind, I'm looking at the conditions. Is there something that I could change to change my day really fast? And a lot of times it's one extra cast with something.
Yeah,
I've gone down
absolutely.
a bank and decided, wait a minute, I'm going to go back to that dock where that brush pile is and throw a jig underneath it. You go back and you've already fished it with other baits and you catch a 4-pounder. And it's just like, stupid fish. Why didn't you eat my crankbait or my chatterbait a little bit ago?
So history has a way of maybe repeating itself a little bit in areas on Lake Norman.
It does. Norman has definitely changed as a lake. The past few years, it's really kind of been a little bit of a slump, as far as the amount of fish you catch and the size. But absolutely, history, especially areas that are good traditionally. I mean, there's reasons they're good. The geography of it, the setup of the bank, things like that. Like a lot of guys overthink it. Every single lake, they follow creek channels. It doesn't matter how flat the lake or how wide the lake is. It's the road map. It's the highway. So it always begins with that and finding the food.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, well, John, it's been an honor having you on our podcast. So you gave us a lot of great information for Lake Norman. Real quick before we get off here, we just want to give you the chance to thank anybody that supports your tournament fishing and your friends or your family or sponsors. Now's the time we can do that.
Absolutely. I am absolutely. I get the. It's a very humbling thing to be able to represent certain companies, and I have a few. So I a company called Heritage Flag out of Sanford, North Carolina. They actually take old whiskey barrels and break them up, and with the wood, they make American flags.
Wow.
And each one is unique. Each one is slightly different colored, and they do a lot of work for veterans, and they help a lot of people. And they're a very wonderful company. Um, and they're locally owned. They're a small business out of Sanford, North Carolina, which is a wonderful thing. I also I represent Cotton Pick and Pottery, a buddy of mine down in Alabama that makes pottery, makes all different types of cups and mugs and plates and dishes and a lot of stuff mostly ladies like, but his coffee cups are pretty awesome, and he can put just about anything you could think on a cup or a mug. So you can get pretty creative. Also, I'd like to thank Canine Fluorocarbon um, for their support. They make great line, all different types. I've had no complaints out of their braid or their 2 different fluoros. Um, but that's pretty much it as far as who represents me. I'm a grinder, a local guy that has fished 20 years, and I'm very grateful to be at the point I am in my fishing career. It's kind of dreams do come true as long as you keep working.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, John, it's been an honor to have you on our podcast. We really appreciate it. We hope to have you back on again soon because that means your 2022 season is rocking and rolling and doing well. So we wish you the best of luck, and we hope to be talking to you again.
Theron, I appreciate your time and having me. Thank you very much. And anytime, I'd be glad to come back.
Absolutely. So, from all of us at Revital Outdoors, I'm Theron Asbury. You've been talking to Mr. John Wiese. Again, he got a top 5 finish last year in the BFL event on Lake Norman there in North Carolina. So, very honored to have him on again. And make sure if you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, check us out on our website, social media, all those great things. Again, God bless. Be safe out there, and we will talk to you on the next podcast.